American water polo.
Hi, this is Damon Newman from American Water Polo. We're here today with Mike McMahon to learn some best practices from experienced officials in our Behind the Whistle series. How you doing, Mike?
Doing great, Damon. Thanks for calling. It's a
Yeah,
pleasure,
yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time.
of
Um,
course.
I've known you for a number of years, but people out there, tell me a little about yourself and, how you got started in officiating.
Sure. Well, I live in Los Angeles. Actually got my start a number of years ago. God, it's been 20 years. A friend of mine who had played and was officiating just suggested you should try reffing. You might like it. And normally I would have just said, yeah, whatever. But I took him up on it. And I'm telling you, from the very first game, I was hooked. I loved it, and just couldn't. I missed the physicality and the tactics. And actually, my first game were two very good teams. So it's been fun. It's been a long ride.
So was water polo a sport you played prior to officiating, or was something you just kind of got into?
Yes, no, I played a little bit in high school and in community college. I wasn't very good. I'd like to think I'm a better official than I was a player, but I think I've learned a lot. And if I did play, I'd be a lot smarter, that's for sure.
Right,
So,
right, right.
but I absolutely love it,
Excellent.
everything about it.
That's perfect. Yeah, it's interesting. There's always officials who get into it having never played or even seen a water polo game, and so it's an interesting to see different perspectives of different types of people. So typically you get to a site, whether you've been there before, it's a brand new pool. What are some things you typically do when you arrive on deck?
Well, depending on where I'm going, let's say if it's a school I've been to before and I know that they are prepared and they do everything right. The first thing I will do is introduce myself to the table staff and make sure that everyone who's supposed to be doing their job is there, because there's nothing worse than coming to a game and find out, well, our shot clock operator isn't here, or we don't have score books, or we don't have this, or we don't have that. You want to make sure that you know who's doing their job and that they know how to do it. Let's say someone who's maybe new and they're going to need a little help. So you know that you'll need to work with them a little bit and be patient. And if you need to slow things down, let's say after a goal, so that they can take the time to put things in the scorebook and you can help guide them along, um, and develop a rapport, because you're going to be working with each other, and you want to have a good relationship. Then I'll probably introduce myself to both coaches, and check my pool markings, make sure that everything is set up. The markings at 2 meters and the goal line at 5 meters are correct. Well, now it's 6 meters. That we have counter balls, that the shot clocks and the game clocks and the horns work, things of that nature. Just familiarize myself with the pool. If it's somewhere I haven't been before, I want to be comfortable before the game actually starts.
Right, right. Well, that's really smart. Yeah, it's just and especially I think the piece that officials, especially new ones, don't necessarily understand is how important it is to have a good table, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They
Right,
can make you or break you.
right, right. That's very true. So you were saying you've been doing this for 20 plus years. So you've obviously seen a lot of changes in water polo. We know how the rules, you know, our sport tends to be somewhere the rules change, from every 4 years, and it cycles from, Olympics to, Olympics years to not. Um, but working with your partner is obviously something that has probably changed as well. Like, the word collaboration is something that's really key now. What are those conversations like with your partner? Maybe in the beginning of the game, maybe during the quarter breaks. What's that sound like?
Well, depending on who I'm working with, let's say if it's someone I've worked with before and I'm familiar with and I know their abilities, um, or someone who's rather new and I know that I'm going to need to help them and and provide assistance. Um, I think it's important that we both know who our table help is or are. I'm sorry, and that they know us, and that we're both familiar with the layout, and then we talk about coverage before the game even starts. We'll go over some hypotheticals, like for example, um, if you're front court at 2 meters, what do you want me to take? If they turn towards me, do you want me to take that? And then we'll switch. So you'll step back and you'll take the perimeter, and I've got 2 meters, things of that nature. So it's important that we're on the same page and we're working harmoniously so that we can call the game the way it needs to be called. Counterattack. If you're the front court referee now, you're going to take the trailers. I'm taking the first set of three. It's important that, like I'll explain to a newer official, not allow the players to get behind you, to be patient and wait until they're a couple yards in front of you, because a smart player, they see that you're not watching them, that's when things can happen. So just little things like that. And will always, it's important that you take a couple minutes in between quarters to talk about what happened, what you can do to make things better. What about this coach? What about this call? That whatever the situation dictates. That's what's important to address, and during timeouts too. And it looks good. It's important that you get together and collaborate. And coaches see this, so they know that you are working together, because sometimes there can be personality differences. And if coaches see that the referees aren't talking to one another, they may try, and I've had it happen many times before. They'll try to pit you against one another. Well, he's not giving us any of the calls, and he's trying to screw us, and this, that, and the other thing. And they're smart. They know what they're doing.
That kind of brings me to the next question, Mike, and dealing with challenging coaches. We all know that some coaches are either looking for a yellow card, looking for a red card, and some of them, just to get a bit ahead of themselves sometimes. What are some ways that you've learned to kind of disarm some potential volatile situations, before the cards come out? We do know that there's obviously a lot of use in cards, but some of the things that maybe you can use that the nuances to kind of disarm those situations before they happen.
And I think what you said is very important, is disarming them and the situation. A coach will come off as confrontational or angry. You certainly don't want to respond in that way. If you can calm yourself and take a couple deep breaths and think about what you want to say to the coach. I'm very tolerant, and I'm not one who is quick to go to the card. And so, for example, if I know I made a mistake, sometimes it's best to just admit it. Hey, coach, I'm sorry, I missed that, but I will watch for it, and listen to them. A lot of times, if they think you're listening to them, they're okay, and a lot of times that will calm the situation down just by being respectful. They put a lot of work and a lot of time and effort into it, Damon, and they deserve a certain amount of respect, as do the players. That's what I think.
Right. Yeah, that's really a great point. So we talked about how small water polo is. The world is so. You know a lot of coaches. You probably have worked with officials that were maybe former athletes that you maybe were refereed. It's such a small world. What's your advice on how an official can navigate these relationships, but still remain professional at the same time?
Oh, that's a tough one. Oh my God, because like you say, it is a small community, and most of us did play and know a lot of the coaches, and it can be hard to try and distance yourself and remain emotionally detached, I guess. And you have to be professional. You can't, for example, when you've arrived on the deck, you don't want to say you know a coach, you may have played for him or you may have played against him, and you've known him for 5 or 10 years. You don't want to get too chummy. You want to keep it polite and professional, and shake hands, say hi, how are you, how's everything, but keep it brief, because if you're spending an inordinate amount of time talking to one coach, the other coach, and people see this, they may not say anything, but you're giving the impression that you're being maybe overly friendly with this one particular coach, and that you may or may not favor them. You're not going to, but people may get that impression. So
Right.
it's not easy.
Yeah, no, it's not easy. And I like the, we kind of got back to your earlier answer, is that respect situation, right? If you're, being respectful, and I think that's a really great place to start, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Like keeping it professional and being respectful, but, really understanding the boundaries as an official, but also as a coach, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's not easy.
Yeah, they're not your friend, at least not while you're on the deck. No, it's not easy.
Right.
To try to be understanding and listen, and just do the best you can. That's all I can think of right now.
Right.
It's not easy. We've
I,
all been in many situations where it's become volatile. There's a lot of anger. I've been yelled at so many times. Oh my God, I've been through a lot.
not a position, where you have to you can't have thin skin.
No,
You have to have,
not at all.
you have to have an understanding of when it's acceptable to allow a coach to voice his or her opinion, but at the same time, when that crosses the line, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So we talked about, obviously really tough part of the game, and dealing with coaches. That being the case, what's another really tough part to officiate in the game, and why?
Oh, wow. I would say that because you're watching 12 players out there, it's important to, let's say, not only, for example, if you're focusing at 2 meters, your focus is elsewhere too. You've got to use your peripheral vision, and you've got to anticipate and know what's going on in the perimeter. Are these guys getting ready to drive? And if so, is the defense getting ready to hand check? Are they holding? You have to constantly be aware. You have to be focused, and can't, if you let your focus down for even a split second, you can miss something that's really important, and things can go really bad. You don't want to be thinking about what you're going to be doing later on in the day or what happened yesterday. You have to remain in the moment. And we're only human. We do make mistakes, and you can't beat yourself up on that. You realize you did it, you move on, you try not to do it again.
Right. Yeah.
May not be the best answers. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to come up with what I can on the fly here.
No, that's it. That's really true. It's true. And you talked a little bit about the ability to make a mistake, right? And then the ability to actually get over that mistake in the whether that's in 30 seconds, or that's 2 minutes, or even that's 8 minutes later, right?
Exactly.
And that's like the mental challenge of officiating, especially
Yeah.
When you
Definitely.
get to those higher level games, right? Those men and women that are moving that much quicker.
I've learned that you have to stay in the now. And I think that's one thing that officiating's taught me that I love, is being in the present. Because you think about what happened 30 seconds ago, you're missing what's going on right now. And it just gets worse. You can't beat yourself up. You stay in the moment. So you anticipate what's going to happen, but you don't think about anything else. What's important is the task at hand.
Right. That's great. So, what are some of the ways that you've had the ability to like further your knowledge of the game? How you've improved as an official? Whether that's evaluations, or that's working a lot of games, or what I guess what's your advice, and how have you been able to gain that experience?
I think what's available to us now is that there are a lot of YouTube videos out there on games. There's high level stuff in Europe, collegiate stuff around the country. Um, I would say it's good to talk to other fellow officials about experiences they've had, try and learn from their mistakes, and just to keep an open mind and and try and watch as much water polo as you can. It never hurts, and just talk to people. Understand a coach's perspective, a player's perspective. I love to talk to players, let's say, um, away from the game, not immediately after the game, because that's when people may or may not be angry. But you sit down with them and hear what they have to say about things, and it can be very insightful sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. I like that answer. That's a great piece of advice, Mike. So you've worked a number of games, high level games throughout your career, whether it's CIF or college club or even varsity. Do you think of a game that might stick out for you, or an experience that might stick out as memorable?
Gosh, I thought about that one, Damon. That's a hard answer. I mean, I've done so many games and so many good games. I've done a lot of really good games that there's there's not any one particular game that stands out on my mind. I'm sorry, but I've had so much fun doing this, and I look forward to it too. I can't wait till the season resumes again.
Yeah.
But if you want to talk about one game, okay, I
Well,
thought about it.
if it's okay, maybe it's an experience that you had. Doesn't necessarily have to be a game. I played. You did this, and this. Maybe it's an experience that you had during a game that was a teachable moment for you, or that you were like, oh, I
So
did a
many.
really good job calling this, or you know what, I really made a mistake here and I learned from it. You know what I mean?
um,
But if you can't, that's okay too.
I can't. I'm sorry.
No worries, man.
I can't right now.
It's all good. I'll have to get you. When we do part two, I'll have to come back to that.
Okay. Okay.
So, what would you say, like, if you had to, and this is my final question. So, if you were to say, 20 years ago, you thinking back to your first couple games that you've done, having the knowledge and experience that you have now, what would be some pointers that you would give a younger version of yourself? Do this, don't do that. Maybe watch out for this. Things like that.
Oh my God. Be prepared. Know the rules. Um, and relax and enjoy yourself. You're going to make mistakes. That's all part of the learning process. You won't learn unless you make mistakes, and that goes for players and for coaches. So if it happens, and it will, just hopefully that you'll be able to work with someone who can mentor you and explain to you that what you did and what you could have done differently. And so there's so many variables, but I would say just relax and savor it and enjoy it, because it's a lot of fun. It's been very, very rewarding, Damon. I love it. Wouldn't miss it wouldn't trade it for a thing.
Yeah, well, great. I've seen you out there officiating. Just listening to you talk now. I know how passionate you are about the sport and about officiating, and we all look forward to getting back on the deck, whether it's coaching or playing or officiating as well. So it's something we miss, and hopefully we get back to it soon.
Yeah, right.
Well, Mike, I really appreciate you taking the time spending talking water polo today. It's Mike McMahon. I'm Damon Newman. As always, check out our website, AmericanWaterPolo.org. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, for other interviews and educational resources.
Thanks, Damon.
Yep. Thanks.